talk, real people, real conversation. Week to week, this the place to get your inspiration. Go and sit back and unwind, sipping on your coldest glass of wine. This the home of girl bosses and the warriors. Went from tragedy to triumph and it's glorious. Ain't no question if they ask, they got that fire. This the podcast that came to Aspire. Welcome to Aspire Podcast, home of the real. Real talk, real people, real stories. Give it up one time for y'all hosts, Sujay.
Hello, beautiful people. Today we got a special guest on the platform. Ray, introduce yourselves. Tell everybody about what you do, who you are.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I want to thank you, Jay, for having me on your platform. It's been a long time coming. I remember I had you on my old podcast, The Pod, and then we had an amazing episode. So when it was time for me to drop this project, I just knew that I had to come to you because it was hitting those deep conversations that you like to have on your platform. So sent you the album early, let you listen to it, and it went from there, right? But for those who don't know,
from days, like it was like, oh, you want to be on next week?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's how it was, right?
Fact. It was like just a natural conversation between the two of us, and then I was like, shit, I could do it this day, because I was actually planning on releasing a project on the 5th, but then some stuff happened. But we'll get to that. I'll just introduce myself. My name is Ray Sosa. My artist name is spelled Ray with an E, Sosa with a 5, and you can find me on Instagram or anywhere you stream music. I'm a hip hop artist. I like to say I'm like a hip hop hobbyist because I kind of just do it strictly off of the passion. I'm not really like one of those artists that are out here trying to go do crazy stunts to try and make it in the industry. I have a really good job in the tech field and I live a really decent, like a really, yeah, I live a really good life. So I kind of just do it strictly off of the passion because I started writing since I was like maybe 11. So I've been writing my entire life, and music is like the only thing that's been consistent in my life since I was a kid. As you know, I joined the military. I retired after 14 years after, getting hurt and stuff, made it up to be a chief warrant officer in the Army. And after, getting out the military, I work for big tech now. I'm in the tech industry, but I still do my music on the side. This is probably like 3-4 years straight that I've been consistent since I got back in, maybe back in 2019, end of 2019. Yeah. So I've been pretty consistent. I make sure I drop projects every year. And this project is a real personal project. It's a 3-pack called Solus, which means alone in Latin. And hence the album cover of the BlackSheep. And you said,
we're gonna get to it for
stuff,
sure.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I noticed with your thing. But before I even get to the album, I kind of want to talk about like how you got here this year, because you were doing, I have heard your music more than just this album, but you didn't, like, you had a whole hiatus. So from like that time frame, hiatus wise, to like now this album, kind of give me a synopsis of like what you really were doing during that time, like to get you here.
So it kind of happened like I was going crazy probably till like 2023. I was like super consistent, dropping like crazy until I dropped, I think when I dropped E5 too, it was a drill album. I was pretty much experimenting with Bronx drill music because I kind of just challenged myself in different areas. And then after I did the drill album, I kind of like fell back. And then I started writing my last project, which was Someone Sleeping Alone, Sosa, for short. And when I was working on that project, it was the same. I got into a position where I started focusing on my life, my family life, my relationships, my kids. And I kind of just like stepped away and just focused on what I had right in front of me, what was going on. Ended up, obviously getting myself into situations that caused me to write Sosa, which was like relationship based and talking about problems within a relationship. So Trials and Tribulations brought that album. Fun fact about that album, I wrote it like probably within days, and then I went to the studio and probably recorded and did the whole entire project within like 4 hours. So I already went there ready.
Cause that album, and I've heard other stuff of yours, but that album,
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about it extensively like last
Hmm.
year. Um, I feel like everybody could relate. Like you don't need trials and tribulations fully, like to the extent where I know you had them because of the
Yeah.
lyrics, everything. I know your story a little
Hmm.
bit more, but like it was one of those albums that like if you've ever been in love in any capacity,
Yeah.
that was an album that you could like
Uh,
okay, because I still listen to it. Psh,
yeah. I
you
named
did.
it Someone Sleeping Alone because that's what you get in the feeling of the album, like from the intro to the
Hmm.
last song. Someone is like end up sleeping alone. Like I just take a lot of accountability. There's a lot of blame being, flung around. I have like the side the side chick anthem in Silent
I
Dream
hate
where
you
you
because that really is.
and it's not
All the
and it's not the
girls were
side
like,
chick
oh.
anthem, right? It's not the side chick anthem in a sense of it's the song for the side chicks, but it's like the song where you actually some people find themselves in a position where it's like you
it
get in a relationship and you're not happy, and instead of just leaving, you start trying to find fulfillment somewhere else.
it
And then
humanizes the idea that it's
yeah,
like not that situationship is not
yeah.
black and white.
And it's not
It
a good start, So
exactly.
and
So
that's what
that's not
Silent
going
Dream
anywhere.
is
Yeah.
leaving the other girl, but also letting her know like how much she means to you. Like there's a lot of love. So I'm
Hmm.
praising the woman, but at the same time letting her know that we can't be
Yeah.
together. And it's because obviously we started in a bad place. I got a situation that I didn't finish yet. Tried to start this with you, end up falling for you like crazy, but this ain't the way that you want to start something. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And
What did you learn from that album to this one? That
I
because
think I learned how to be more vulnerable because,
that's what I wanted you to
E5
say.
E5 was like I've always been pretty vulnerable in my music, but
Hmm.
I got to a phase where I was just not, you know, and I say it in this album in Solace, it's one of the songs where I say like, you know, that, you know, pretty much what I'm putting out on Instagram isn't even real, right?
So
And the reason and
that's what I
you know,
wanted.
and it's because I'm creating this persona because I feel like my real life doesn't have much appeal. Like I probably,
So
you live this boring life
I'm
where you're
so
trying to,
glad you said that. I'm not to cut you off,
yeah,
but
right,
really, that's the difference because I see your social media and I'm like, man, that's not even really exactly the
it's a
person I know.
character,
Yeah.
yeah,
But people will feed into that person as if we
hmm,
talked about this last night, would
yeah,
feed into that as if it was genuinely you. And a lot of
yeah,
people would probably think if you see both of our social medias that we couldn't be friends because we stand for quote unquote like the opposite
right,
things. Like you're like I'm not only just pro woman, I'm pro like what is the right thing, right? But I feel
right,
like
right,
in a lot of ways you have posted things that may be misconstrued as like oh, he's just hating on women. Like he needs to
yeah, yeah.
heal. Like, but you
Oh
are a
no,
very. I'm being honest. I'm just
yeah, yeah,
saying,
yeah,
right? Like, even people when they find out that they don't know you, so when they found
hmm,
out that you'd be on my show, it's like, really? And I'm like, you guys just don't know. We have the deepest talks. Like
right,
in music, sometimes you have to separate the persona from you. And even though
right,
this is still authentic to parts of you, it's not who you are fully.
right.
Please, people,
And
find that out. Like,
it's
people are
like
so.
right. So my passion is in writing. So
Hmm.
it's like people who write scripts for movies, people who write, books. They're not all autobiographical. You're kind
Exactly.
of putting yourself in the shoes of a character, and then you sprinkle in real life, but at the same time, you're gonna elaborate. You're gonna like, exaggerate things a little bit, make things,
Absolutely.
feel because at the end of the day, you're giving someone you're for the 3 minutes that your song is going on, you're you know, putting someone into your world or wherever you want them to be at
You're
for those,
invoking.
few
I always
minutes.
say, in
Yeah.
a song invokes a feeling or
But
a
it's for
thought,
the most
right?
part, I try, although it's a caricature, I ultimately don't stray too far to, away from my values and my own
Mhm.
moral code.
Mhm.
So like I'm not gonna say things that aren't true in the sense of like I have this and I really don't have that,
Yeah.
right?
But you
But the
also
stories are fictional. I'm
correct.
like just because I'm, in Silent Dream, I say this is this whole like side chick thing. it could be like I've been through those experiences. And a lot of the music that I'm writing, I might not be going through it now. I could have went through it when I was in my 20s, but it's
Yeah.
still true to me.
Mm-hmm.
It was something that happened in my life that I felt was worth talking about. So am I still ripping and running like I was back then? No, I just happened to record the song now because there was something that just invoked those emotions or something like that, you know?
Or
And when
something you grew from at this point. Like
yeah.
you grew from
And
that or
even
you
when
learned. Yeah.
And even when I say with the whole, you know, what's online isn't real type stuff, is that it's real. It's just only a very small part of you because I'm really, all I do is really just post myself. I like to post my clothes. So those are my real clothes. I'm really, you know, whatever you think of me, like, oh, this guy's fly. Yeah, that's real. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not really saying anything out of the ordinary or, you know, I'm just not exposing my life. I don't post my family. I don't really post my friends or like, you know, you won't know what my day to day is like. I don't post my job.
Mm-hmm.
Although I'm proud of all of those things. I'm proud of my family. I'm proud of my work.
And those are just
You know,
assumptions people can make if they
yeah,
just see
yeah,
your page and just be like, "Yo, but
yeah,
he don't even got kids. He don't like."
yeah. Because
That's
I just want you to focus on the
exactly.
art. Like
Mm-hmm.
whatever I put out, that's for y'all. My personal life is for me. And some
Exactly.
people, even in relationships, you could get into trouble or some problems because they like, oh, you're not posting your family, you're not doing this. And it's like, well, that's because I'm not selling that, right?
And
I'm not.
like that's not for yeah, exactly. It's not for sale, and
Mhm.
it's not driving like me, my personal and my podcast page are two different things on purpose because yeah, I like to share a little bit of some family things. Yeah, I like to go personal on certain things, but I'm not people think I'm such an open book because I'm blunt and I'm honest about the real things that I want to share, but I'm not sharing everything. So I'm not that
Mhm.
much of an open book, truly, because at the end of the day, what you see is what I want you to see. But I feel like you're
Right.
exactly that. Um,
Mhm.
what would you say is the biggest obstacle that you have when it comes to social media regarding your art and your music? Do you feel like it limits you or does it enhance you?
Well, I think social media is a tool,
Mm-hmm.
like, and it's going to work as well as you use it. You have to, it takes a lot of study, a lot of time, effort. People have six-figure jobs or people become millionaires off of
Based
social
on
media
social media. Mm-hmm.
because they learned how to use the tool in a way that, you know, elevated their status. But for me, it's not social media itself because I see it for what it is. I don't care for it like that. In the
Same.
beginning, yeah,
Same.
I cared about likes. I cared about they meant something, but social media doesn't really mean anything to me but it being a tool for me to get my voice out there. I have a passion that if I don't write, if I don't make music for so long, I start feeling like the world's on my shoulders. And then I write, I get in the studio, and it's just a release. And I'm what makes it real is giving it to the world because I can just do it, leave it in a hard drive, play it in my phone or whatever.
And
But
it still
what make
feeds something to you, though. It still
right?
feeds you. What other people
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
need. Yeah. What
It's
people don't.
giving it to the people. You like it, cool. You don't, it's cool too.
Yeah.
I'm just feeding it. But I could say the biggest obstacle is just like having that life, right? Having trying to, you know, be an artist and
Balance.
trying to because you start to build a fan base, no matter how small it is. It can just be a handful of people that really mess with you, but when they really mess with you, you kind of feel like you in debt to them. Like, man, I have to feed them because they'll hit you up every so often. Hey, man, where's the music? Hey,
No,
you
you
know,
got
or
fans.
this or
You
that,
got
you
fans,
know.
though. You have fans.
But
I
yeah, I mean, I like to call them supporters because they really do support me.
yeah.
The group of people who, you know, who support me, they buy my merch, they buy my albums early, even though it's going to be on streaming services. You know,
Yeah.
in the next couple weeks, like they understand what it is to be an independent artist, and they really come out and then they support me. So I really appreciate everybody who buys my music, listens to my music, shares my music. But ultimately, the hard part is really living like my home life and then trying to still be what I can be for, let's say, the fans, the supporters. Because if you don't got that encouragement or if you don't got that support system, you know, people just kind of look at it. Like I said, I'm like a hip hop hobbyist. It comes from hearing it so much. It's like they don't people will kind of like look down on it on a sense like, why are you doing this? Like you have a good job, like you live your life, like that's not really you type of stuff. But those are usually the people that don't really understand what you're doing and how you're talking to the people.
You're
We
speaking to
spoke
my
yesterday.
heart right now. Yeah.
I told you, you know, Sosa, like the Someone Sleeping Alone album, if I wouldn't have dropped that, that one female that reached out to me said that song saved her life.
Hmm. Talk
So that
about
was the
that because
purpose.
we spoke, but I want people to know about it a
Yeah.
little bit because like that happens, that has happened to me even, so it happens
Hmm.
more often, and that feeds something in you that you don't even expect. So you do the art because you love it, right? I do this because
Right.
I love it. I do multiple things because I love them. Like without creating, I don't know where I'd be truly. but
Hmm.
but not a lot of people talks about that, like you're changing
Yeah.
someone's entire life or saving it, and nobody really
Right.
mentions those parts. Like to hear that is
Hmm.
wild. But tell it a little, like, because I know, like, but someone reached out
Yeah.
to you and said you they saved, hey, you
Yeah.
saved their
So
life.
during the time I was promoting someone sleeping alone on TikTok, I did the mic session, the mic video for Silent Dream. So I was doing promo for that, and then I don't, I get on and off of TikTok because
I can't.
I can't
I
have
can't.
TikTok on my phone because I low key work for the government, and you know how
Yeah,
that shit
yeah, yeah.
is.
I already know. Yeah.
Let me not expose too much about what I really do, but um, so I will get TikTok on my phone, I will post, and I would just delete it and get it off because I can't have it on my device.
Mhm.
And then so during one of those times, I'm promoing. I go back on so I can post another video and delete. And I happen to have a comment, and it's from a young lady saying, that she was about to kill herself. She had just gotten out of a relationship in a bad way, and the guy pretty much seems. I can only assume that the guy must have just like ghosted her and didn't leave or provide her with any closure. It was probably one of those things where you felt like the rug was,
Just pulled from
swept from
underneath
under
you.
you.
Mhm.
And so long in my own words, she pretty much said that that song pretty much provided her with the closure that she needed to move on. She got the answers that the other guy refused to give her. So she found closure, and she said she was about to kill herself, and it made her continue to live on. And that wasn't the first time it happened. That was probably like the third time that my music, someone's reached out to me and said, "Hey, this song saved my life." And that's what kept me going. The first time it happened was in like 2006. It was a young man at the time. Same thing, relationship stuff. Him and his girlfriend. Some people get into relationships and they fall so deep in love and that they
They
will
get
just do
lost.
anything for someone, even end their own life. So I'm glad that two of the times I was able to save somebody's life, and then the one other time it was me speaking about it myself, like speaking about my own dark thoughts. And at the end of, I have a song named Paul Masson that on the, I think it's the second verse, I really get into that type of talk of where like, sometimes you could feel like I might be better off dead, right? Or I might be this, but but I also get into the point saying, but I'm not going to do it myself,
Yeah.
like, and
Mhm.
just saying the right thing at the moment in time where somebody can actually take my words and resonate and feel like there's somebody else out there in the world that feels the way that they feel and that they're not alone. So that's what pretty much keeps driving me to make music and be doing after E5 and wanting to, going through this experiences with like my life and relationship and then making Sosa. It then opened the door for me to start releasing music that put me in a more vulnerable place. As I got closer to my kids, I found myself becoming softer, being more vulnerable, more
I
open,
was
and
about to say, sorry
yeah,
to interrupt, but I
stuff
was
like that.
truly was about to say that it's not necessarily just a vulnerable you, because you're vulnerable who whatever you want to be, whatever. I feel like with this, well, even Sosa a little bit, I feel like you became softer. Like you're
Hmm.
like in your soft guy era. Like you really
Yeah,
like no, but truly, because I know like
that's
you
crazy.
come up,
Soft
but
guy is OD.
it's deep though, right? Because and I don't care. I'm gonna call him soft, and I don't even care.
Yeah, yeah.
But you know what I mean. It's like it's not just vulnerability because there's pockets of that, like you said, in all of your albums, or at least the ones
Hmm.
I've listened to. There's pockets of
Yeah,
vulnerability, but you allow yourself to not be the tough guy. You allowed
right,
yourself to like, oh no, this shit hurts. Like in
right.
especially, I mean, this one,
Yeah,
I yeah. I
yeah.
actually
We're leading into it. It's gonna this the talk is gonna get crazy as soon as we start talking about this album because
mhm.
this album was not supposed to be released, right? It
This
was
was a you
stuff because I'm
album.
sorry.
It was a for you album.
Yeah. So the first song, 1324, I wrote 4 years ago. and recorded it 4 years ago in my bedroom. Like it was like just letting off. Like I said, I've always used music as therapy. So I have songs that I would record just at those times where I'm just speaking to myself, or sometimes it's like a journal, like something I can go back to and kind of remember, what
That's
I
what
was feeling
poetry
at
does
that
to me.
moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So these three songs were that they sat the oldest one was 4 years ago, and then the other two I recorded this year, but during times where I needed to write. I wasn't like writing the music just because, hey, I'm trying to make a dope song. I needed to get what
It's
I was feeling
therapy.
off of my chest.
Hmm.
And I wrote it, and then sometimes that's not enough, right? Sometimes you got to say it out loud, see how it feels. And that the act of actually recording the music was gave me, the ability to just relieve all of that. So then they
It's
just sat
healing.
there for a while. I knew it was about time for me to start making music again. I had been gone for like I let a lot of months go by because I will go ghost, like because I don't
I
care.
already
Like
know. Like, I already
social
know.
media is not my life. So when I'm coming, if you see, and that's the one thing that my supporters have learned about me is that when they see that I'm posting more frequently, and I like to be very like encrypted, I would like put stuff out. One of
Mm,
my guys hit me. He's like,
what's
"What's this
coming?
soulless shit?"
Hmm.
He's like, "Seeing you like leak off
Yeah.
this soulless thing, but you're not saying anything. You have a project coming, don't you?" And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, man, just stay tuned type of shit. And so if I'm posting and if I'm active, then something's coming. And
Something's
then when
coming.
I'm
I
when
already
I don't
know
got
that.
nothing
Yeah.
for you, I go back in my little hole and I see you guys when I got something else for you. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not just gonna be flooding you with bullshit. Most I'm gonna do is post quotes, post some videos that I feel like I can relate to or share with the
Same.
world,
Yeah.
post myself, let people know that I'm alive and stuff.
That's how
And
I mean, and
yeah,
we talk from time to time off IG, off whatever social media platform, but like when I see, oh, okay, so he's still here. Like
hmm,
you posted something, some clothing, right? And I was like, oh,
yeah,
okay, there, he's back. Like, okay, that's how I,
yeah,
and I'm used to that too. It's like,
yeah,
but you have you training people, but it's hard to say train, but that's the word.
yeah,
You let
hmm,
people know when you're no, like as soon as I started seeing you more often, and not just in a story, not just posting like a random quote. Oh, he's
hmm.
coming. He's coming. What's up?
He's coming.
I better hear this album before anybody else. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
that's how I feel.
Facts.
Um,
And it's true because you helped me with my last release. I needed just some fresh ears, and I was like, "Hey, do you mind listening to this
mhm,
album for me?"
mhm.
I wanted the female perspective because the whole recording process for Someone Sleeping Alone, it was just me and the engineer, and we're just men. And then the people that I'm playing it for, and then you can't really play it for people that you're with, like because when you
Mm-mm.
even let's
Not
say if
that
you're
album.
dating like
Not that
if you're
album.
dating somebody that makes music and then they start playing these songs for you, you're gonna be like you're gonna be like, who are you talking about? They're gonna be mad because they think you're talking about them or you're
Well,
talking about somebody else.
that's just close-minded
Like
people. I'm so sorry to say, and I don't even know
right.
your personal nothing right now. But
Hmm.
like for me, when because I've talked to other artists. I'm friends with artists, so like I have listened to music prior. I have like given my 2 cents before. But for me, if you're with someone, and this is where a life lesson I've learned more recently than
Hmm.
not is like when you're with someone that isn't in the art or into the art, it's hard for a creative to be even in that space because you're not like you're not able to let your wings out. You're not able to really soar because it has to be about them. Like music is subjective at the end of the
Right.
day. I mean, art is subjective. So like it's sad. I don't know. I don't know if I should say this, but I feel like that probably didn't work out because
Hmm.
of that as well because
Right.
when you have to hide your art, it's the worst feeling in the world.
And I've had to do that. Like I would
My whole
like there
life.
was times during writing Sosa, I was at that point where writing I felt like I was sneaking around with
Mhm.
music.
Mhm.
I
It's
got
the
to the point where
worst.
I was doing music so openly. I'm in the studio regularly to I'm trying to squeeze in a studio session during my lunch break at work. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
It's the
Like it gets to the point where you're just fucking I'm like, being I'm cheating on the side with music because you don't it's not being received or accepted at home or with your significant other. So yeah, that does play an
I
important role.
I
And you
completely
you
understand
do
and see
as a
it.
creator, you definitely need to be with somebody that kind of understands what you're doing and appreciates it and encourages you because it seems like it's illegal to have a dream these days. And you
You
can,
said that out
you
loud. It's
know,
so true. So
yeah,
true.
and then the whole ageism thing too is like, man, you're this age. I just turned 38 years old and I still write music, but my
Viejito.
music is not childish anymore, right?
Yeah.
I'm not writing music like I'm 23 talking about, this wild stuff. I'm talking about real life shit that's happening to people at my age. Like we are all going through these relationship shit. They forget that no matter how old you are, you're still trying to figure
So
out
you
that shit.
shouldn't
We're
be.
still trying to figure out life.
It's sad that people put a cap on artistry. Like,
Hmm.
okay, so you're not 20 something. So now I'm going to put, you're still an art. Like, people don't understand. And this is all art. Like, not just music, not
Hmm.
just, there's, if someone doesn't create what they need to create, if it really, it's like something dies inside you. Like when I
Hmm.
was told, like, oh, you're basically dumb. Like this is a or something dumb to start the podcast. I mean, I've been told that. I've been told worse, but
Hmm.
I ain't gonna say that online, obviously. But it's basically like you're literally telling me not to breathe the air that I need to breathe. I hate that
Right.
feeling. It's the worst feeling. But I'm glad you
Hmm.
mentioned that because, and again, we don't really go into relationship stuff, but I know enough to know like that couldn't have been a thing for you long term
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
how the hell are you an artist? And even if this is not your job, obviously you do it, on the side, you're doing
Yeah.
whatever, but it's still your passion. You can't kill
Right.
passion. You can't kill
Exactly.
passion.
And it's because if not, then you just don't feel fulfilled. Like
Yeah.
music fulfills me. It's that other little bit of I need in my life.
Mhm.
It allows me to just kind of be something bigger than myself and have a
Mhm.
voice
Mhm.
and share it with the people. You know what I mean? So that's why I dug in my hard drive and I was like, man, I need to release music. I think I'm ready to release the stuff that I was never going to release. And I chose the three best songs that I thought, because most of them were just kind of like I wasn't recording them to be released, so they sound more spoken wordish, right? The
And
only one
I
that
think that's
sounds like,
my favorite part of this album because I love the
yeah.
art of spoken
And
word.
I'm not
Yeah.
right, and I'm not trying to be like because in all the other like albums that I've done, like you feel like you just have to prove yourself. Nowadays, rappers they want to rap about rapping. Like I'm rapping about rapping. I'm the best in the world. I could do this. I could do that. I feel like I've already showed that I can rap really well, even up to the point of my Evil Ways freestyle. Did it in one day. So the story behind Evil Ways, and I'll get in and I'll get out. It
Mhm.
was I was listening. Drake dropped For All the Dogs,
Mhm.
Deluxe. He had a song with J. Cole, and it was Evil Ways. I heard it on my way to work. I heard the song and I just
Understood.
got inspired. I wrote an entire song on that beat. By lunchtime, I was in the studio recording what I wrote, and it was released by maybe 4 or 5 o'clock that evening. The same day I heard it, same day I wrote it, and then I released it. And it was really talking about this, like, being older, like being older in the game and like it's an amazing freestyle. And I think I really displayed my ability to rap at a really high level at that moment to where I felt like, all right, I showed y'all that I can rap my ass off. Now I'm going to simplify things so that I can send out a message. And that's when I
Yeah.
dropped Sosa. That's why I'm dropping this, where I'm not I didn't write this to be the best artist in the world using these immaculate,
You're telling a story.
entendres and metaphors and similes. It's straightforward passion and words, and they have meaning, but it's going to be very direct. You're not going to have to rack your brain and try to catch a line or anything
What
like
do you
that.
mean about this? No. It's your storytelling. So like I feel like rappers do tell stories. I do. Like not a lot of people think that, but I feel like they if you're good at it, they tell stories. But
Mhm.
this is like what because I feel like it's like a Lauryn Hill unplugged album. Like Lauryn Hill has talent to sing, has talent to rap, but in that album,
Mhm.
she's not really trying to do either. It's like she's not doing either really well, but she really does. I mean, it's one of my favorite albums because she really tells you stories, she really makes you, she invokes feelings into people,
Right.
and that's really what she did. I feel like with this, and I'm gonna start sharing your cover, and we're gonna talk about that now because we're bringing it up. But I feel like with this album, it truly is like, you don't have to, you really didn't even have to know how to rap. You didn't like,
Right.
and it would, it's that I feel like this is a good one. It's a
The
good one
message is
too.
so strong.
Yes, yes. um and it's gonna resonate. I would be surprised if you didn't get another message talk about thank you for saving my life, and I'm just gonna put it like
Man,
that. Like, and I'm
that's
telling you,
deep.
even no, and because you
I
know
gave
how
me
I am.
goosebumps when you said
But
that.
and I did too.
Yeah.
Because when I heard it, the little girl in me was like, thank you, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I'm
Hmm.
getting emotional, I don't even know why, but I
Yeah.
think if you don't get somebody telling you something like that, it would be crazy to me. Like, it would be a
Right.
miss, because it really is something that, if you know it, people know my story, I've said it on here, but,
Hmm.
or at least parts of it. um
That's because
it
we're fellow, and we can move into the cover. We're fellow
Yeah,
black sheep, right?
let's go. Yeah, let's
But diff
go. I'm showing it. You can't see
yeah,
this, but I'm showing it.
yeah. So
So
the cover, go ahead, I'm sorry.
explain it. No, no, I want you to tell
So
people.
the cover of Solus, I seen this picture. It's actually from an actual artist.
Hmm. I
And
knew
then
that because I looked this up.
yeah. So I reached out to the guy. It came off on my Instagram
Hmm.
feed. I reached out to the guy and I asked him permission to use his art for my cover. And it worked out, thankfully. He said it
Definitely,
would,
and it
right.
definitely says, like, just what, like, just seeing the, so I saw the cover before I heard any of
Hmm.
the music, because you know me, I'm very
Right.
visual too.
Hmm.
And I said, holy shit, because I didn't know what it was
Hmm.
about, and I knew what it was about, because I know
Right.
you at least well enough to know that that feeling is mutual. So we're both
Right.
mutual black sheets of our immediate
Yeah.
family. So tell the
But
story.
it's so the picture is so powerful because when you look at that piece of art
Hmm.
and you see that black sheep, he looks like the strongest one out of all
Hmm.
of them.
Hmm.
Right? He just stands out and you see strength. You don't see it like the whole stigma behind black sheep are like they're the fuck ups or they're
Hmm.
the ones that can't get right and everybody else is holier than thou. But in this one, you can tell that that black sheep didn't want to be a part of the crowd,
Yeah,
right?
that's
But
exactly
at the
what we
same
are.
time, but at the same time, you feel loneliness in it too. Like the lone black sheep surrounded by, you're so different from everybody else, and you're standing there. You can't even fit in if you tried. You look different. You are different,
Hmm.
and it's just so much power in that. And I just felt like I seen power in that black sheep being alone in that crowd, and I resonated it with me because this album was written during my loneliest moments when I felt like I had to resort to writing down the way that I was feeling because there wasn't nobody around me that I can speak it out loud to. And I felt that they would understand what I'm saying and how I'm feeling at that moment. And it's because I've outgrown everyone that was ever around me. Because,
I want to
go
say
ahead, I'm
something
sorry.
real quick. No, no, you're like, you're allowed to talk. This is
Yeah.
what I want you to do. But in, when you say, so for me, some of the some of the most deep, or some of the darkest, or some of the most moving words I've ever written were not necessarily, well, my loneliest time, but the most people were around me. Like, I felt like
Mhm.
the like, in a crowded room, exactly how this cover is, where
Right.
you're in a room, there's hundreds of thousands of people around you genuinely, and you
Hmm.
feel like you're, you don't fit, but it's
Being
okay
lonely has nothing to do with
with
who's
that amount of
around you,
people.
right?
Exactly,
You,
that's what I wanted to
yeah.
portray. Yes, yes.
Yeah, like feeling lonely is not because you have the lack of people
People,
around.
that's what I
It's
wanted you
just,
to say.
yeah, and that's what it's about. Like I'm always surrounded. There's people always around me.
Hmm.
I feel like if I'm going through a crisis, I definitely have people that I can call and rely on to talk me off the ledge. Like I have a strong foundation, but it doesn't change the fact that I still feel lonely because it's just like that because of how I think, who I
Hmm.
am
Hmm.
at my core, you know, and I'm just so different from you guys that you can't I can't pretty much say how I feel or speak what I'm going through because you wouldn't understand anyway. And
Same.
so
Same.
me being able to write this album was me being able to get that stuff out and even highlight it all, right? So then it was kind of iffy to release because, the first track, uh, we we can go into the first track, which is probably why you were tearing up and crying. It's
Hmm.
called The first track is called 1324. And the reason why it's called that is because it's about, myself being 13 years old and then being taken advantage of by a woman that was 24 years old,
Hmm.
right? And
I
then
know that
it's
story.
not really, yeah, it's not necessarily one of those things where I'm just bashing it. What I did was I spoke on the situation and I kind of said things out loud. And it wasn't to make my mom feel any type of way about it. It wasn't to make that person feel any type of way about it. It was just kind of letting the world know what it done to me, like acknowledging that, yo, this happened to me. And it happened to me because my mama had me at 14. My pops was a ghost. my
Yeah.
my this person at 24 take advantage of me. I thought it was okay because at that time I didn't know any better. So I'm going along in life and I'm thinking, I thought actually at one point I thought it was cool that I had a
You
much
were the
older girlfriend,
man. Like,
right?
what are you talking about? Because,
I was like, I'm in these streets.
yeah, you
Like,
out here.
you know?
I want to
So I was
interrupt real
actually
quick.
proud of it
I want to
until I got
interrupt.
old enough to realize how wrong it was and how it affected the way that I began to treat women my entire life after that relationship, the mental abuse that I endured, even physical abuse, and just being completely controlled by a person because I'm just a child. I finished school because I wanted to. I forced myself to go through school. I forced myself to want better and do better because nobody kind of like pulled me aside. And that's why even in that song, I say, you know, left mama's crib at 14. She's wrong for letting me go. She should have said no and just pulled me in close and tell me how this whole thing was gross and called 50, like, and called the police. Like,
Yeah.
this is what you should have
Yeah.
did instead of just thinking that you were allowing me to make these decisions and that were going to make me happy. Really, you should have just stopped me from, you shouldn't have supported my decision at 13, 14 years old. And you should have reeled me in, explained to me why it wasn't good. And you could have potentially saved me a ton of heartache and mistakes and, going through life, womanizing and, just numb to the world, right?
I
Taking
wanted
out,
I wanted to
taking
ask
that
you.
out on every woman that I've gotten with after, you know what I mean?
So real quick, because now I'm gonna get deep because I know myself. um, when because a lot of we skimmed over like yeah you were 14 and this woman was 24.
I was
I
13. Yeah.
13. So I want to talk about that a little bit deeper, only because this is how we relate to. A lot of times we've talked about that kind of stuff. Um,
Hmm.
but it's so because you spoke on it so raw. A lot of people think that because when I told my story, a lot of people didn't like my story, but it's my fucking story, right? Like, and I get
Hmm.
mad because I still get slack for like telling parts of my story. They're my story. I wasn't bashing anyone. These are factual things that happened to me. I can't,
Right.
I can't save how you see the person that did the things that they did to me, right? And even though
Right.
your mom was young and dumb, because 14 is young and dumb, let's be honest.
Right.
And by 28,
Hmm.
she was still young and dumb, really,
Yeah, just
because
a
she
kid
didn't
raising a kid, not knowing any
exactly
better.
that.
Yeah. And I forgive her for it. So I got to put that out there.
Absolutely,
Like,
yeah,
I don't hold any grudges to my mom. I'm thankful that she kept me alive long enough for me
to
until I can
get you
keep
there
myself
somewhere,
alive.
exactly.
And then also, she was 13 pregnant of me, and she ran away from home just so that she can have me. Like,
Mm-hmm.
my grandma was against it, like they should be. Like, I can only imagine if I had my one of my daughters were 13
I
and
would
they came to
die.
the house pregnant.
I'm
I'm
telling you.
probably going to want them to not have it also, right? You're
Mm-hmm.
like, you're going to
Yeah,
ruin your life. You have all of this. And then back in the 80s, it wasn't cool. So my mom couldn't even go back to school. She had to
yeah,
completely drop out of
yeah,
school in
because
the eighth
you're
grade.
not even allowed.
So her having to wherewithal at 13 years old to fight for me so bad that she ran away from home and went from place to place and probably struggled her entire life just so that she can give birth to me. I've always felt like I've been indebted to her. And I think that's why I've become like so obsessed with being successful and being the best version of me because I never wanted her to regret giving up her entire life to have me.
And I
And
commend her for
I'm
that too.
yeah,
A lot of teen moms and young moms don't get that credit when they do
right,
the work. I mean, and do enough work to get, like, look at you now, right? What I
right,
what I don't want people to misconstrue is that sometimes telling your story, even though it makes people look bad to whoever thinks it's bad, it's not in a way where it's we're not trying, like, as artsy people, as creatives, you're not necessarily trying to bash anyone. It's, if you don't
hmm
tell your story, it's like almost a slow death inside. And that's what you were probably feeling the 4 years where you wrote this, is like, I'm at my loneliest. I feel like this story hasn't been told. Using your
hmm
voice is part of the game. Like, so I think a lot of people are like, probably a lot of people may not like this song when it comes out in on a
right,
personal level, like people you actually
right,
know. But at the end of the
yeah,
day, it's what happened to you in your eyes and in your vision. Like, who cares
yeah,
what other people think when it comes to that? Um, I want Why I got emotional is because when I told my story, I didn't know that it would affect me in a different way telling it, saying it out
right,
loud, because I had kept it hidden for so long. Um,
hmm
I didn't have a voice up until I said that. And I'm going to say it like this because I feel like I'm a well-spoken person. I'm someone that needs to speak. I'm someone that has to have open dialogue and communication. That's why I'm doing this. But it wasn't until I really said that shit out loud where other people can hear me, and it was
hmm
where I felt free. Do you feel that way? Do you feel like some kind of weight is lifted? Because it's
when
one thing to record it and hide
yeah,
it. It's another thing to, like, listen, hey, here, Jay, here's my album. Now,
I'm finally giving it to the world.
thank
Yeah,
you. How does it
it
feel?
feels it feels good. Like right now, it's not completely out for the
Mm-hmm.
world. Right now, it's for purchase only.
Yeah.
So
I just bought it, and I know I
everybody,
heard it, but
yeah,
I bought it
yeah.
because I was
Thank
like,
you.
you
I
know,
appreciate. I saw that you were one of the people who purchased it.
yeah.
So even though I sent it to you
I
already, you
know,
still
but
bought it. So that's real
it's
support. I
I love you.
appreciate it.
You know that. So
And so it hasn't gotten real yet, but I know once it release and once I shoot the video, it's gonna be real. And it's gonna like at that point, but writing it alone just made me feel free when I was able to record it and then go back and to listen to it and just be like, wow, like I still say that it's probably some people disagree with me, but I think it's the best song I've ever recorded. And only because it's just so I think that
it's the rawest.
there's so many ways that you can say something. And I think that I said it the best way possible with just with the least amount of words, right? I think that the way you use words are very important. So you can sit, it could have been a 10-minute song, 20, it could have been an audio book, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just trying to tell my story. But I thought I highlighted just the right amount of information so that you could paint the picture in your head and, you know, see what happened. And being able to, you know, go from being 13, thinking that all of this was okay. And I didn't realize that what was done had been wrong until I was 24. And that's why the numbers
and
are so
you
significant
and you know
because,
that a child, like, you know that, like,
right,
you
because at 24 years old, being a 24-year-old man, I was looking at a 13-year-old boy and I compared myself and I was like, what the fuck? And at that moment, I realized this was fucking wrong, you know, and it took all of those years for me to you know, realize that that was wrong and how it affected me. And then it took another 10 years. I was 34 years old when I wrote the record. And I was in my however many relationship. I was in a new relationship and I was still doing wrong, right?
mm-hmm.
And I'm why do I keep fucking up? Like I love this girl. Like I want to be with like what is it? Why do I never feel like I'm satisfied? Why can't I just conform to being, you know, a good guy? Because I'm 90 in my head. I'm like, I do everything. I provide, I protect. I'll give a woman all of me, but I just couldn't stop stepping out and looking elsewhere. So I started to realize how, and I break it down in the song, how, you know, being abused, you know, I said, I think it's true that the abused become abusers. And what's happened to me is like now I'm fucking breaking all of these women's heart, good women that didn't deserve to be heartbroken. I'm breaking their hearts, and it's not even intentional. It feels like it's just happening naturally because my intentions weren't to do that. I
Mm-hmm.
just happened to be doing it. But so I just found myself in that place where I'm like, started to realize that my relationship with women at that moment stemmed from the beginning of my relationship with the woman, losing my virginity to a much older woman, being with her for so many years and the way that I was mentally abused and, manipulated and led to believe things and all of these things, it affected the way that I viewed women today. And I wasn't properly respecting them because of it,
I
and
think I'm so glad that I didn't even ask you all that, but I'm so glad that you said it. And that's why I let you speak, because I think what people don't understand in situations where you're a child of sexual abuse or mental
mm,
abuse, physical abuse, like I had it all, so did you. When you're a child like that, that is like, so I'm not somebody that like has been in like like relationships. I haven't, but
right,
it was a real choice that I had to make young. So me and my sister both went through similar circumstances, but we viewed things on a whole different level. She's older, so I had to really sit with and really still consciously make a decision to slow down, to really pick someone, to really love someone. But it is one of the hardest things. Like, a lot of people don't know. Like, when I went through therapy, that was the first thing that they taught you, is that you either will have terrible relationships from this if you don't get the help, or you'll have the best ones because you're so broken from all the things that happen to you that all you want is the love and to be special and to be good and to
right,
be so. But it's either or. There's no in between with that, and I'm glad, because we're
mm,
both extremes to the opposite end, right? But
right,
I'm
right,
glad you mentioned that, because a lot of times people are like, oh, these people just want to be like, oh, he wants to be a puto en la calle, like you
mm.
just want to be out there
No,
hoeing,
there's
but
always
it's
two
not
sides
that.
because you
It's
can
not
think,
that.
right,
Yeah.
you can relate it to something that maybe more people are familiar with, and it'll be like being raised without a father,
Hmm.
right?
And
So
you had
me
that
and my
too.
brother, right, yeah, me and my brother can both have grown up the same way, where we both didn't have a dad. And now, because of that, that experience makes me want to do anything possible to be in my kid's life. And my brother, on the other hand, he's just the same.
Hmm.
He didn't have a father. He doesn't see the need for it, or he could just be having kids left and right, not be in their life, just pretty much passing on exactly what happened to him. So you could both look at, the same or live the same experience and learn
Yeah.
something different from it.
I call
And
it
I
I
just,
I say, I'm sorry to interrupt. I
you're
say a
good.
lot of times that it's the people that stop the curse, and there's people that continue it. And
I
they
keep it going.
and it's not necessarily, how do I put this? Like, I'm not better than my sister in any way. I just think that somebody had to get the help somewhere. Somebody had to break the cycle somewhere.
Right.
And we always
Just
we
made better
talk about that,
choices.
yeah. And we said this even last night, like, we are cycle breakers, really. We are, and that's the
Mm.
black sheep. For us,
And
black
it
sheep is
does.
so different, because for us, black sheep is like, by everyone else, I was viewed as when I was young, like, wow, like, there's something different about her in a good way.
Mm.
So I
Right.
gravitated towards, like, I created my own family based on that. Most of them were blood related. To this day, most of my
Mm.
family isn't blood related, and it's the truth. For
Mm.
Because it felt better than what I was getting at home, which was like, stop being this weirdo. Stop, you know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Stop trying to better yourself. Like, you're not better than anybody else. But I
Right.
feel like that's also what I gather from your album, is like, dang,
We're
because I got
we're
the
we're
same thing. I got the
we're the
strong
kind of
black
we're
sheep,
the kind of black sheep that separated ourselves from our family by doing better, right?
Hmm.
But it's always going to be a dynamic with black sheep, but there's always going to be success
and
and
failures.
and failure, right?
Hmm.
So usually the black sheep in the family would come from a successful family, right? Let's say
Hmm.
two lawyers, they
Exactly.
get married, they have a family. One of their sons is going to take over the family business. Their daughter is is going to be a lawyer too, and one of their sons is just fucking pothead, dropped out of school, gets into trouble, commits crimes. Now he's the black sheep in that family.
Mm-hmm.
But in our sense, we come from an environment where people are just stagnated and don't, haven't really weren't didn't have opportunities to really break any cycles. The education was low. Like there's not much education in the household. There's not much a belief that you can be anything more than what you've already seen. We come from the generations where we can say, I was the first one to finish high school.
I
I was the
actually
first one
was.
to get a
That's
college
crazy.
degree. I
Mm-hmm.
was the first one to make it out the hood. I was the first one to start driving and have a car. Like we were the first to actually break the cycle, and we became the black sheep because anytime that we came back to be around the people that what it seems like we've turned our back on, they look at us like we think we're better than them
Yeah.
or we look down upon them or this because you come and you're excited about, hey, I just bought my first house. Hey, I just got me this car. And you're telling them this because it's like, yo, I was where you were.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to purchase my first home. It's possible, y'all. And
Everything is possible.
instead of asking me the right questions and saying, "Yo, how can I do it?" Because I have to walk on glass, but to get here, I might be able to tell you, like, "Yo, I didn't know when I went through, but there's actually a shortcut. You just got
Yeah.
to go this way." I
Exactly.
did everything the long way, and instead of coming to me and actually seeing that I can be someone that can actually help you get to where I am or even further without getting all the bumps and bruises, instead you're intimidated or you feel um, you know, the thought of me makes you feel worse about yourself. Therefore, you start to distance yourself from me because you, oh, and your excuse is that I think I'm better than you. I'm a piece of
Like
shit. I'm
it's
this and I'm
on
that.
us
Right.
to heal the brokenness in them, thinking that
Right.
we because I definitely know I'm not better than nobody, but it's
Right.
easier to call me stuck up than to heal and fix yourself in a way where you can grow. You're stunning your
Mhm.
own growth because I'm not doing it. I'm over here. I'm still worried about
Right.
my stuff and my what I can grow from. And that I love I love that you say this. When we were talking yesterday, I was like, I even thought about it like at night, like, damn, like because I it's exactly how my life has always been. I feel like I wish I was closer to certain family members because to me they mean something. But I think there's less love for me because I didn't want the life that they still live. I didn't want, like, it's okay. It's okay not to want something that's toxic. Toxicity it scares me. So, and
Mhm.
stagnant, no growth, I can't live a life like that. But
Yeah.
I'm
If I'm
glad
not
that you spoke.
progressing, I feel
What's
like
the
I'm just
point?
wasting my
What's the
life away.
point?
Like I can't sleep. I barely sleep, and it's just
Mm-hmm.
because if I sleep too much, I
Always,
just feel like I
you
wasted
wasted a
valuable
whole.
time. My thoughts be way too loud, so I got like a 4 hour sleeping pattern, and that's just my norm. But you said something that I wanted to piggyback on.
Sure.
Oh, so and the problem is that, and we see it how, just based on the lack of support we receive from the people around us. It's like they're embarrassed to be inspired by somebody that they've seen in the same position as them. Like you can't.
Say
I
that
have
louder.
strangers.
Damn.
I have strangers out there that love and revere me for my art and my passion. But the people that grew up with you, that love you, that see you every day, they can't. They don't get that same inspiration from you because they feel like they can't. Like this person is this, or it's like they, you know, we don't have heroes no more. Like you can't be a hero in your family, and
It
like you're
can't be
nobody's
someone can't
they're
look
too
up to
ashamed
you
to be
that
inspired
yes,
by you,
yes, yes.
you
I
know,
agree.
like
Hmm.
and so therefore, but and it can get super discouraging to the point to where you feel like maybe I shouldn't do this, and then but it's the other people that you're able to reach that tell you how much you inspire them, and they the ones that, and then sometimes you start getting caught in between, like, all right, who's lying to me? Like, and usually you're gonna put your family and your friends above strangers, right? So you're
Absolutely.
like, well, these people know me most, so they might be right. But in all reality, the strangers are actually there could be right too. They could be telling you that you're great, and the people around you are trying to stunt you because they don't want you to outgrow them
Hmm.
because it's going to make them feel like less of who they are.
I have a lot of
And that's
people like
what,
that in my life.
yeah.
but it's
And
all
that's what leads
family. All
into, that's what leads into the next song. So we could try to speed along this project.
Oh, listen, I know, because I'm like, we're trying to cut. I don't want to cut you out. We could probably talk the whole, like, it would be,
Right.
I will have a whole season based on us because we
Yeah.
talk a lot. But
Right.
speak on the next one, and then I feel
Yeah.
like I don't
We'll have
want
to
to
wrap
cut it
up.
up. I don't want to. I feel like maybe we have to eventually have a part two in other
Yeah.
ways because yes, it's we will
Right.
talk till
So
forever.
we've pretty much spoke a lot about 1324
Yeah.
because it's the heaviest
Mhm.
topic. So that's what that song is about. The next song is called Never Coming Home.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
which
Mhm.
goes back to the lonely thing, like being alone and never coming home. And the whole concept of this song is pretty much speaking about what I just spoke about, like being the one to kind of, make it out and outgrow the people that you grew up around. So even when I can sum up the song by what I started it with. I said, I'm never coming home because it doesn't feel like such. And I can't shake the feeling that they don't like me much.
Mhm.
Using passive aggression as a crutch, using passive aggression as to disguise what's really a grudge, right? You're being
Mhm.
passively aggressive toward me when really deep inside you hold a grudge toward me.
Absolutely.
And then it's like, what's with all the fake love? Seems always share his blood. Like we don't share anything but blood. And then even saying, I'm never coming home. I'm like, for what? Ain't nothing there but strangers that share my blood. I don't even know you guys anymore. I don't know you. You don't know who I am. And all I keep getting asked every time I reach out is, when you coming home? When you coming home? When you coming back? You can visit me too, right? I don't
How
always have to come see you.
and at the
Like,
end of the day, so like for me, I don't and I'm related I related to that one probably a lot. But um it's the idea that home is that. It's because
right,
you were raised here, you grew up with us. But I did no growing. I did the best growing when I wasn't home. I did the best.
right,
I'm the best me without going back
right.
because I
And you
can't,
never hear
Yeah.
like, hey, let me come see you.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely not.
I already know where you are because you're in the same place you was when I left.
Hmm.
Don't you want to come see something new? Like,
Growth. They
you know
don't
what
want
I
to
mean?
see
Like,
growth.
all I
Yeah.
hear, like, when you coming home. So when I wrote this song, it was answering all of those people that when I reach out to them, all they asking me is when I'm coming home. This song is, I'm never coming home.
That's not home for me.
Right. Because, and then I get into that, like how while y'all just sat down and waited for something to come with y'all, I got up and I went out to go get it. I'm trying to see the things that my mom missed and get my kids to see beyond this.
Hmm.
I'm trying to really take this thing places, like I'm not, you know, I'm not trying to be just stuck in one place. I'm trying to build a whole different life for the people that I brought into this world. And the higher that I can build this foundation, the more of a head start my kids are going to get because I started from the ground level,
And the
right?
less that they have to go through the struggle that we did, that
Right,
our parents did, that our grandparents did, like
right.
that's the progression that we should be doing. But because
Hmm.
people are who stay stuck and stagnant and are opposed, because it's not necessarily that they're not growing, it's that they're almost opposed to the growth because they're keeping it real. Like
Hmm.
they're and no, you're not.
No.
No, you're not.
They don't realize how
No.
ignorant they sound. You
Exactly.
go you leave the house, you go get educated, you come back, and the first thing they tell you is you talk like you're white, right? Because you've built
Are you living
you
my
know,
life?
yeah, like now it's like you talk like you white. You don't even like, and they
I've
looking
always
down
talked
on
like
you
this,
for
but it's
actually,
hmm
increasing your vocabulary and actually learning new words where I don't have to curse so much, actually knowing the meaning of words so that when we have a conversation, I can actually express myself a lot better. When you have a limited vocabulary, it's hard to express the way that you feel because emotions are already so complicated.
hmm hmm
So now you take your limited vocabulary and these difficult emotions, and then you get frustration because we fear and we get upset about what we
what we
don't
don't know
understand,
and understand.
right?
Yes, I agree.
So your lack of understanding is what's making you so aggressive. It's what's making you so argumentative. It's what's make you are quick try to get physical because you don't know how to verbally and or mentally express yourself. You don't know how to put the way that you feel into words.
I tell
And
people a curse word is is a word that you just didn't know how to, like, if we're in an
it's a
argument,
word for something.
it's a word
Yeah,
for something else that you just don't know.
right.
I people get
Well,
mad at
hold
me.
on.
It's a
It's
word for
also
something
there.
else.
They're also there are also sentence enhancers in the
Hmm.
sense of like I don't care and I don't give a fuck are two different. Like I don't
Yes.
care. They both mean the same thing. I don't have to tell you I don't give a fuck, but if I want to really get my point across to you that I don't care at the maximum level, I have to tell you I don't give a fuck. Like,
That's
you know what I mean?
I feel like,
Like,
so maybe
so
when
there's
I
a
was
purpose for
younger,
these words.
mm-mm. When I was younger, I felt like that. No, he need to
Yeah.
really know that I don't care.
You
You know, you
need,
need to
yeah, like I
really,
want you to know I don't
but
care on the maximum fucking level, but for the
that's
most
not
part,
how
you
I
are
feel
right.
anymore. That's not. I
And that's
really
why,
don't
and that's
curse like
why
that too much.
slang, every curse and every slang, if you notice, they mean multiple things, right?
My
Oh, it's
manager,
time to wrap it up.
no, no, they no, they just making fun of me
Uh,
because I say
so
different words for curses. We'll
yeah,
talk
and
later.
so yeah, cursing ultimately is that like because, and that's why curses usually mean multiple things,
Hmm.
right? Like what the f you want to f like like
I
or
hate
I
you.
don't give a f.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
like so they're usually just to fill in the blank for a word that you don't know. So you're
absolutely.
absolutely right on that.
I
But
tell
just to
people,
try to speed through this because I know
tell
we've
me
been
about
on
your
this
the
already
last
for over
song.
an
Tell me
hour.
about the last song. I want to hear it.
Yeah.
Forget it. We're gonna
So
be extra.
never coming home is just that going through crazy, going through letting my family, how just growing out of your family and just kind of expressing yourself. It's super dope. I wrote it in a really dope way. The last song is called "I'll Name This Song Later," and
I
I
love
just
that.
never, and that's because of what I saved it as, right? Because I start hearing the beat, and the beat is I don't know if it's a woman or a man because it's kind of distorted, but a woman saying like, I can't live without you, but I'm better off without you. Like just pretty much you would think that the song is about to be about a breakup or a relationship. But essentially the song is really there's a breakup in the song, but I'm really just explaining how the trouble that I'm having,
Mhm.
like with thinking, with the way that I'm viewing myself. Like, and then the second verse, it's a breakup song to myself. I'm breaking up
It's a
with
you
myself
versus you
for the
song.
way
Hmm.
for the way that I've been treating myself. I haven't been treating myself right. I've allowed myself to put other people's feelings above my own to the point to where I've changed and I don't even know who I am anymore. Right? One of the lines is, I deserve better if I say so myself. I don't deserve to be someone who wants to be someone else.
That's my
And
favorite line
yeah,
of this whole album.
so
This
I'm
whole
just like
album.
cursing myself out. Like you
It's a wake
disregard
up,
the way that you're
like,
making me
yo,
feel.
it's a shake you, like, wake the fuck up song, kind of like,
Yeah,
it's
right.
like this is not what you were put on this earth. Like, it's like I'm better than this song.
Hmm.
I love that song because anyone that's gone through the first two songs
Hmm.
would feel defeated in this way, would feel like it's a me versus
Right.
me. I can't get it
Hmm.
together. Like, what, why am I
Right.
feeling this way? Why am I the black sheep to the
You
people?
figured it
Yeah.
out. So that's
I
why
already
I
knew.
even
I
put
already
them
knew.
together like that.
Yeah.
Is because in the first song, it's dealing with your childhood trauma. Like when you start therapy, that's the first thing they're going to dig
Yeah.
into
So tell me
your
about your
childhood,
childhood. Uh-huh.
right?
Mhm.
So the first song, I open up digging into my childhood trauma. And then, which led to where I'm at with my family to where I'm never coming home,
Mhm.
right? Which, all right, I already exposed my family and I already told them and put the people that were causing me to feel this way in their place. Now it's time to really hone in and get to the source. It's time to get to me
Mhm.
and fix the things that I've done for me to be in this position,
Mhm.
right?
It's
Me to
a
tackle take accountability. And really, the reason why I decided to break up with myself is because I have to let go of that person that allows them to be changed by other people,
mhm.
that you allowed me to not even know who I am anymore. It's like I don't like what I see when I stare at myself because of you, you
Mhm.
know, and you've allowed me to get here because you were okay wearing somebody else's sheet, like being under someone else's sheet, being wearing a mask and being somebody that you are not. I was inside here suffering because I couldn't express myself. I couldn't be who I truly am supposed to be. And that's what's causing your rebellion. That's why you're stepping out on that girl. That's why you're not being emotional enough to attach to your children. That's why you can't connect with people, in a natural way. Every interaction just feels so fake because you're not right with yourself. You don't even know who you are,
It's imposter
you know?
syndrome.
Right.
I
So I
because
had
I
to,
suffered
yeah,
that too. Yeah, no, but
yeah,
truly it's like where the moment where it's like I'm living the life of other people for other people. Where the hell did my life go? Yeah,
right.
I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much the album, and we had to speed up the last part, but Solace is an album that I wrote during my loneliest times. I'm giving power back to the Black Sheep. That's why I made, put the Black Sheep on my cover. It spoke to me. I made a clothing. I have my merch line, which is with the embroidered Black Sheep logo. It's all black and white. There's no other color in the line, but there's just black hat, white hat, black, heavyweight, oversized tee, white, black sweater, white sweater. I just wanted to keep it very clear. It's black and white. There's nothing gray about this album. I'm not leaving you anything
Wondering.
to question.
Hmm.
Right. What I'm saying is what I'm saying. I'm not using metaphors or
No,
or
you're very
sneak
direct. There's no sneak
sneak
attack.
I'm
There's
not
nothing.
sneaking anything. If
Mm-mm.
I'm speaking very direct. It's a black and white album, and I just hope that y'all appreciate it. It's available right now for $5
Go get
on
it,
my page. You could
guys.
just hit the link, or
Tell
if
them
not, you
tell
just
them where they
wait
can
and it'll
find your
be out.
music, where they can find you. Like you just said, is
Yeah,
on your page. All of that, because I
yeah.
want people to
Well,
be able to reach out to you.
I do most of my communication on Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
so it's just at Ray Sosa, Ray with an E, Sosa with a five. And but I'm everywhere. I'm on Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube Music, Google Music, you name it, I'm there. I distribute my music everywhere. You can find my music videos on YouTube, obviously, but I'm mostly on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook as well, Twitter. I'm pretty much everywhere, but my primary place is Instagram. And yeah, you could just Google Ray Sosa and you'll find everything. But if you come visit me on Instagram, go to the link in my bio, you'll see where to find my merch, find the album, take a listen. If you want to wait till it drops November 19th. It's on a Tuesday. I'm trying to go back to dropping music in the beginning of the week rather than Friday. Give people time to really like absorb it. And Friday it drop. Next day people are trying to relax for the
Yeah.
weekend. So I wanted to drop it during the week. You could wake up, Tuesday morning and drive to work and listen to something. It's a short album. It's only 10 minutes, but there's so much that's packed in these 10 minutes that
Mm-hmm.
you really start to, it's going to grow with you. I know you're going to love it. It took a long time for me to listen to this music, for it to grow on me, and for me to even feel comfortable enough to share with you. So if you listen to the album and you don't really feel it at first, just give it some time. Yeah, it's just you're not used to somebody speaking like this. It's
I
really
agree.
just ripping themselves down and telling you stuff. Usually you need people to, give you baby feed you these types of discussions and this type of stuff. So I
Now
want to
you
thank you
you
again.
you throw it down our throats. Like you're like, eat this shit. But in the best way. That's a compliment. That's not
Yeah.
because we you could have tiptoed. You could have done all that,
Hmm.
but you really like was like, no. Like I feel like even the music, all of it is really raw. Like it really could be an uncut something. And you know what I mean? But um thank you. Thank you for being so honest. Thank you for sharing. I love that we do this. Like I need you back
Hmm.
on. Maybe we could do where you come. Well, I could go over there. I don't care, but we'll be live in person and we could do
Yeah.
what we said, a me versus
One of
you
these days
kind
for
of
sure.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Sometime.
I mean, I don't mind coming back on the show some other time. I mean, it don't have to be only when I'm promoting something. I don't mind coming and just going through a discussion with you.
Yeah.
We could definitely do that. But I just want to thank you. I think this was the perfect platform for me to promote this album because it's so
I
personal.
appreciate
And I
that.
just love how personal you get in your show. You're vulnerable. You kind of open up and you give the world or your viewers a safe space to really just leave your mask at the door, come as you are, you're accepted here, and you have a sense of
I
empathy and
appreciate that.
compassion that people seem to relate to. So I want to thank you for having me. And I hope that we do some numbers because we really tackled a lot of heavy stuff today.
People are gonna love you. I love you. You know, I got love for you. But I know people are gonna love you because, um, even though we may think a little bit different, I think during the last couple years, I'm really realizing that some people are now finally open to the idea that not everything is just so black and white. So I
Right.
appreciate you so much. I love you. And yes, I will promote. I will send me everything. Always. I'm always like ready. Sometimes I don't even
Yeah.
ask you and I just share, but I appreciate
You
you.
don't have
And
to ask.
yeah,
Yeah, I
all right, we're
appreciate
going
it.
to do it. We'll talk later. All right, guys. Thank you.
Thank
You know
you.
who I am,
All right,
Aspire
y'all.
J and Aspired Podcast. Bye.
Peace out, y'all.
Bye.